Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. The clock has just struck 8:25 on this beautiful Sunday, November 13th, and this is, I believe, episode 5 now
It
of
is.
Unsportsmanlike Content. I'm your host, Harry Loomis, here with my boys, Thomas Fornes. How are we doing?
Wonderful, wonderful, Harry.
Wonderful to be here, and my boy, Kenan Bielovats is back in the building. How are we doing?
Doing absolutely fantastic. Love this cold weather we're having.
I disagree with you. I thought it was a little too cold this weekend. We had a busy one too. Football had a home game, so we were outside for a good bit of Saturday. But we'll get to that in a little bit. We got a loaded episode for you today. Starting off, boys finally got some weekend time together. Thomas had us over to watch UFC 281. I personally had never watched a UFC fight before. They had me over. Tommy got the pay per view. We had a fun little night, and I got to tell you, it was electric. Tommy and Kanan can tell you a little bit more about it, but that was quite a card we had.
I mean, that's just an insane first card to watch as someone who is new to the sport.
I felt like it was a blessing to have that be kind of my baptism into the.
Well,
into
you've
the
now
sport.
been spoiled because I'm not sure if you'll be
The,
satisfied.
the bar is
won't.
set. The bar is set now.
Yes. I mean, we can run through the card real quick.
I can take the first two. You can take the main.
Yeah,
three.
you got it.
First up, first ever card fight that Harry saw was Dan Hooker fighting Claudio Puelles. In my opinion, the worst fight of the night. Claudio did not want any smoke with Dan Hooker, constantly going for leg takedowns. That didn't work. He got him once trying to get a knee bar. That didn't work. Rounds 1 and 2, he just kept on trying to submit this man. But Dan Hooker was like, all right, I've had enough. Landed a solid knee to his ribs. I think it was either the ribs or the stomach.
Just where all sorts of internal bleeding could come about.
And absolutely put him out of his misery. Claudio 13-3 now. Dan Hooker finally gets back in the win column after a couple losses. Good to see Hooker back in the win column. Claudio has to find out what he's going to do because only going for submissions, that's not going to work. Frankie Edgar versus Chris Gutierrez. Frankie Edgar, a future UFC Hall of Famer, coming back for one final fight, and it didn't go his way. Gutierrez mollywopped him. First round, 2 minutes in, Gutierrez hits him with a lethal knockdown. Significant strikes all around. Edgar would just seem a step slow the entire night. That's his third straight loss, and at this point, he had to go. But he had one hell of a career. Former UFC light heavyweight champion of the world.
Correct you there.
Lightweight.
He is, I believe that was a bantamweight, maybe lightweight, but
he was the lightweight.
Let's not downplay this knockout. Frankie Edgar was dead on the canvas.
He was.
This is his second or third straight devastating knockout in a row. His chin is compromised. He's done. He should be done, and I'm glad that he's calling it a career.
Knocked out cold. Hate to see it.
Third fight was. Tommy's going to talk about it. That was the absolute fight of the night.
I mean, with Michael Chandler, you already know what you're getting. Every time he steps into that octagon, it's going to be lights out. The man brings the energy. He's explosive. He's arguably the strongest fighter, pound for pound, on the roster. I mean, you guys saw those takedowns. This man went from on his knees to putting Dustin Poirier about 7 feet into the air.
Oh my God! It looked like a WrestleMania move.
Unreal. It seemed like he had the fight won. This happens to Michael Chandler. He'll dominate fights, and then he'll kind of gas himself at the end and get caught. That's exactly what happened here. Poirier, very tough. Props to him for getting the submission in round 3.
I want to add on. First round, we thought it was all Michael. And then the last 30 seconds, Dustin lit him up, shot after shot, and had him bleeding all throughout the rest of the fight.
No, we talked about it. He started getting a couple in the last 10 seconds. If that round goes on for about 15 more seconds, Chandler would have been knocked out in that first round.
Poirier almost finished.
Story of the night right there. We'll get into it.
I think Chandler still won the first round, arguably, but Poirier did almost get that finish. Co-main, we have Esparza versus Zhang, and rightfully so, Zhang gets her belt back. Carla Esparza kind of always seemed like a paper champion. The way she beat Rose Namajunas in her last fight, it was arguably one of the worst fights of the year. No one really wanted to see her in that position, so I'm glad that Weili Zhang got that championship back. And we got to talk about this main event, though, boys.
My goodness.
What a war.
I mean, me and Kenan, we were aware of the backstory between Adesanya and Pereira. We explained it to Harry beforehand. I mean, this was a journey about 8 years in the making. They fought each other in lower-level kickboxing, always had kind of a rivalry. Pereira had him 2-0, but everyone was saying, kickboxing, it's a different sport. There's no wrestling involved. You're allowed to get back up when you're knocked down. Completely different set of rules here. So everyone was kind of on the Izzy side leading into this fight. I had a feeling Pereira was going to catch with that left hook. Looked like I was wrong for most of that fight. Looked like Izzy had it in the bag. But lo and behold, Pereira caught him. And although Izzy was still on his feet, although people say it was an early stoppage,
he got a couple in.
The lights were on. Nobody was home. If that fight would have gone on 5 more seconds, Pereira would have threw a knee, and we would have been seeing a dead body on the canvas.
His jaw might have spun around to the back of his head. It was.
But can we just talk about Pereira? Pereira is now 3-0 against Izzy. Like, what do you do? What do you like? Izzy can say, "Oh, it doesn't matter." It does. It affects your confidence. It affects your stability. Like losing.
More importantly, to guys like this, it affects your legacy. Like
he came into your sport, came into your house, knocked over your table, and then knocked you out. Like,
let's
that's
keep
insane.
in mind, the only time Izzy has lost outside of Pereira in the UFC in his professional MMA career in general was against Jan Blachowicz, which Izzy was moving up a weight class to 205 to try to get the double belt, and Blachowicz basically wrestled him to death. And it's not like he dominated him; it was just the weight difference made the difference. So, arguably, Izzy had never lost a fair fight.
This was a fair one.
This was fair. On paper, they're listed as 6'4" each. Man, on that TV screen,
Alex towered over.
Oh, he made him look like a midget out there. I mean, it was unreal.
And shout out to Alex, though. 5 fights, new middleweight champion of the world. I think second fastest next to Brock Lesnar for amount of matches before becoming the champion.
Yeah, I want to give myself credit for that. I asked Thomas that exact question. How is that the shortest it's taken a guy to go from his first fight to being a champion? And about 15 seconds later, Joe Rogan was asking the same thing. And I got to give Thomas some props, too, because the whole time we were watching this fight, all Tommy was saying was all he needs is one left hook for Pereira to get Izzy down. And he finally got that one hit in. And about 10 seconds later, the fight was over. So, selfishly, fantastic viewing experience. I'll definitely be open to more experiences like that. Can't wait for UFC 282 to come out in about 4 weeks' time.
I want to see Chandler versus McGregor. Give me that.
That is the fight to make.
Give me that, Dana. I want to see that. I want to see that bloodshed war.
Adesanya and Pereira will for sure rematch. That's about all I have to say about that topic.
Pretty much a perfect storm. It was incredible. Moving on, here at Missouri Western, we came across some pretty significant news this afternoon. So Griffin football finished their season with a 41-0 win yesterday at home, senior day, against the Lincoln Blue Tigers to finish off with a 5-6 record. And we found out today that it would be head coach Matt Williamson's last game as head coach at Missouri Western State University. Andy Carter announced that Williamson would no longer return as head football coach for the 2023 season, and said, after careful evaluation, we determined that a new direction was needed to help secure the future success of the program. We appreciate the service, commitment, and dedication that Matt, his family, and coaching staff have given to Missouri Western. So Carter is going to speak, I believe, at the Hi-Ho Luncheon with Tommy Rezach tomorrow. But until then, that is all we know. And, you know, you've been hearing some rumblings here and there throughout the year. There were some rumors about, this isn't Andy Carter. This is his first year at Missouri Western. This isn't his hire per se. And 2 years in a row, the last 2 years since COVID, the team is 11-11. And you can see it. There's pieces there. The team has a lot of talent to be a top of the line MIAA team. They're going to finish 7th in the league this year. And, there are talks about, boosters getting impatient. Carter wanted to make an early impression. The coaching staff is gone. Most of the offensive starting lineup is going to be returning next year. And, personally, I've always liked Williamson. I've been covering the team since my freshman year in 2019. He's always been pretty good to me. We've had some pretty good interactions and press conferences and one-on-one time and everything like that. So I wish him and his family all the best. But Kenan, you can chime in here from a football standpoint.
It had to be done.
It seems like it doesn't seem like too much of a surprise.
It had to be done. Willie's a great coach, even a better person. But at the end of the day, you look at this roster. The offense is stacked. The defense is stacked. But yet you still win 5-6. You lose 4 straight. You can't beat Nebraska Kearney even with 400 yards. The offense itself was doing its job, but couldn't get the ball back in the end zone. But Willie had to go. A lot of people are mad about this because he is an alumni. But if I'm Andy Carter, excuse me, not Andrew Carter. But if I'm Andy, I did the right thing. You got to start fresh because this team is too talented, too good to be missing bowl games, having a losing season. This team has potential. This team can be molded into the next dynasty. All the pieces are there. We have players that can go pro, such as Kobe Cummings, Dominic Chapa,
DJ Sturgis.
even DJ Sturgis. But something has to be done. It has to start at the top. And Willie getting relieved of his duties. It sucks. I know a lot of people aren't happy about it, but it needed to be done in order to take the next step.
One thing I was noticing yesterday, because after the football game, we came straight into Looney because the men's basketball team was hosting a tournament. Before them was Northwest Missouri State's men's basketball team. They were in the tournament as well, won their game before us. And the one thing that I was shocked at is just how well Northwest shows up. They had their last game of the season in football against Emporia State. They won. They earned a playoff spot, and still at a 4:00 tip-off in St. Joseph, Missouri, 50 miles south of Maryville, they showed up in bunches. There were more people there for the Northwest game than the Missouri Western game, which I think is a pretty damning statement when it's your home court, it's your home city, and you look around. There's just as much, if not more, Northwest fans and merchandise and gear and apparel and signs on cars and everything like that. And there are Missouri Western State. You can't keep playing second fiddle in your own hometown. St. Joseph is Missouri Western's town, and we can't keep letting Northwest take it over. And I would not be surprised if that waned on him a little bit, because I saw Carter. He was there for the entire Northwest game talking with Will Martin. He was there before the game. He was there watching the basketball game with a critical eye, and I wouldn't be surprised if that weighed on him a little bit. But it's, like Kenan said, it kind of had to be done. There were a couple losses in the year that we thought you could have gotten a win, saved your season. That 4-game losing streak killed him. I think I thought when they lost in double overtime to Central Missouri last week, ended their chances of a bowl game. That was kind of the nail in the coffin because, like we said, this team has so much talent. And since 2019, my freshman year, when they went 9-3, COVID year doesn't count. 6-5 last year, not great, but promising. You had a quarterback switch midway through the season, went from Vespa to Reagan Jones. This year, for the most part, everyone was healthy. Jonas Bennett didn't play Saturday. You didn't end up needing him. Reagan Jones stayed in all year. The first time since I've been here, you had a quarterback able to play all 11 games. You lose one more game than you lost last year, and you're not bowl eligible, and you're sub 500, and you're in the bottom half of the MIAA. Not good enough. Carter is here for a reason. I trust him. As much as I hate to see Williamson go, he's a good guy. Like I said, wish him nothing but the best. I think from a purely professional standpoint, this was the right thing to do. Because, like I said, I'm tired of playing second fiddle to Northwest in my own college town. So if this is step one to getting there, to building kind of an empire, like Kenan said, of Missouri Western dominance, because Northwest is graduating some talent. Trevor Hudgens and Ryan Hawkins left their basketball team. Diego Bernard is gone after this year, I believe. They've graduated a lot of football talent in the past few years as well. If there's a time for Western to right that ship after getting their asses kicked for a decade by Northwest in both basketball and football, the two biggest sports for both Missouri Western and Northwest Missouri, if there's ever a time to right that ship and get back to your winning ways against them, this is it. It's got to be now. There's no reason to wait. I'm on board. There's going to be a nationwide search. Make it happen. Now, moving on. Tommy, do you have any thoughts on the matter? Okay. Now, moving on. For the second week in a row, here is your 5-minute fast break starting Kenan Bielvatz. Kenan, your time starts now.
Everything basketball here, ladies and gentlemen. First story of the day, the 76ers wanting Kevin Durant. This is a trade that has been explored. The Nets are willing to part with Kevin Durant, and the Sixers want him to take that next step to a championship level. However, what is going to be able to get Kevin Durant? Well, I got to say Maxey, Harris, Shake Milton, Marcus Thibault, and multiple 2029 first round picks. Me personally, if I'm Philadelphia, I'm not doing this. Yes, Harry.
Why 2029?
That's just how many picks. They have more picks in 2029 than all the other years. So they're up and for the future. This Brooklyn Nets team isn't going to be really good in the next 3-4 years. But if I'm the 76ers, I'm not doing that trade. Maxey, that he's a stud. He's going to be a really good player, maybe one-time, two-time All-Star. Tobias Harris, inconsistent at times, but when you need a bucket, you can go to him. Shake Milton, got to keep him. Marcus Thibault, Got to keep him. Great defender. I don't think a connection between Kevin Durant and James Harden would work. We saw how that happened in Brooklyn. Got him to the conference finals, but Harden was non-existent. When Harden goes non-existent, is Embiid going to step up? That is the question that we have yet to see. Embiid's never stepped up in his career so far.
They've all got question marks. Playoff reputation.
All three of them. Could they work together? Possibly, but I think not. Lakers 2-10. We talked about it last week. They were 2-7. Now they're 2-10. Big losses to the Cleveland Cavaliers, the Utah Jazz, the Clippers, and the Kings. You have no right to lose to the Sacramento Kings, who in my opinion are garbage. Anthony Davis at 24-14. Russell Westbrook at 21, 11, and 4. Russell Westbrook off the bench has been a spark plug for the Lakers. Keep him off that bench. But the rest of the team didn't show up. Patrick Beverley, 5 points. Wayne Gabriel, 8 points. Troy Brown, 2 points. Matt Ryan didn't even play this game. Damian Jones had 4 points. And they had some guy named Max Christie, who I've never heard of him, score 7. But they had no answer for De'Aaron Fox, one of the most underrated players in this league.
Yes.
I've been watching him since his college days, since his high school days. I knew he was going to burst out. He deserved to have a burst out season, and this is it right here. 32 points, 12 assists, 7 rebounds. And then you also have the key players, Domantas Sabonis, 21-10 with 6 assists. Harrison Barnes, 13-8. Kevin Herb, 16 points. Malik Monk, 8 points. Davion Mitchell, 6 points. Metu, I think Chimzi Metu from Kansas, 10 points, 5 rebounds. I know my man to the right, Thomas Furness, is really happy about that. You have a perplexed look on your face. Who? Chimzi Metu.
That's definitely not a Kansas guy.
Didn't I could have swore. I'll probably think of somebody else. My mistake. He played at USC. Everybody. No. There was somebody with the name Metu in Kansas. I'll go back. I'll look into the film. MVP watch. My favorite part. Giannis Antetokounmpo is 1. Luka Doncic is 3. But ladies and gentlemen, number 3. Jason Tatum, out of nowhere, he's been exploding. Boston Celtics are 6-0 recently, and it's all because of that bad man, Jason Tatum. Jason Tatum has been channeling his inner Kobe Bryant. Last game against the Pistons, 43 points, 10 rebounds, 3 assists on 14 for 28 shooting, 7 for 14 from 3. Man, he's going to be an MVP watch this year. And in my opinion, maybe next cover athlete on the regular edition, 2K24, it's got to be Kobe. Shout out Kobe. We love you. We miss you. NBA season, has been absolutely amazing so far. And the performance of the night, Darius Garland had a 50-piece in a loss against the Minnesota Timberwolves. I just want to shout him out. When the Cleveland Cavaliers drafted him, I knew he was going to be great. I saw people calling for heads. I saw people trying to get him out of Cleveland already. I'm like, give this man some time. 51 points, 16 for 30 from 3, 16 for 30 from the field, 10 for 14 from 3, 6 assists, 27 points in the fourth quarter. If that's not clutch, I don't know what is. 27 points. He almost single-handedly fueled the comeback. Now, fans might be saying, oh, why is he averaging more? Well, it's pretty easy when you have Donovan Mitchell on your team. He finally has another scorer. Colin Sexton was a great scorer, but he's not Donovan Mitchell. Donovan Mitchell's averaging 32, 4, and 6 on 52% shooting from the field, 44% from 3. But I got to give I got to give Darius Garland his roses. He's going to be a star. Last 30 seconds. I'm making a little prediction. I'm saying that Anthony Davis or Russell Westbrook, I said Westbrook, I apologize. Russell Westbrook will be traded within the next month. This team has to do something. Rob Pelinka, Jeannie Buss, you have to do something. You are wasting LeBron's legacy. You are wasting his final years of his career. Something's got to be done. Rob Pelinka, I'm ashamed that you put this team around LeBron. That's been Kenan's 5-minute fast break.
5 seconds to spare, ladies and gentlemen. Kenan Bielabat's 2 for 2. Good work again, Kenan. And listening to your analysis, good stuff with the Kings. I agree with De'Aaron Fox being one of those underrated point guards of the league. My question is, say we free De'Aaron Fox. We get him out of Sacramento, team that is never going to win ever again, as far as I'm concerned. I mean, my God, they haven't even been close to a playoff spot, I think, since I had never broken my arm.
2001, I think, when they got screwed.
Yeah,
but
around
it's
the
been a
time
while.
with the Lakers.
It's been a while.
So here's my question. Say we're freeing De'Aaron Fox. What team that has a potential for a championship window in the next 10 years would he fit the best on right now?
Ooh. That's such a hard trade because De'Aaron Fox can go anywhere and absolutely dominate. I feel like this could be a guy who can lead the team. in my opinion, I say the New Orleans Pelicans.
Love it.
With him at the 1, Zion at the 4, Ingram at the 3, they're not going to trade Zion. They're not going to trade BI. So if I'm the Pelicans and I need a point guard, like it's no disrespect to their current point guard in CJ McCollum, but he's not a point guard. So this is what I see happening. I see them trading Herb Jones, which is a big loss, Jackson Hayes, and either CJ McCollum or Jose Alvarado. And if I'm the Pelicans, I'm trading CJ McCollum because I can see Jose Alvarado being a star in this league. He may be only 6 foot, but he's a great defender. Really efficient too. 47% from the field, 42% from 3, 3 assists, a steal a game. He does everything a little right. But if I'm the Pelicans, I'm calling Sacramento. I'm like, hey, what do you want for Fox? I will give you this, and this with picks. Give me Fox with the Pelicans, with Zion, with Brandon Ingram. That's a championship team within the next 5 years.
I would love to see it. The only question I think would be if McCollum has any no trade clauses involved with this contract yet, because I feel like he's been around the league long enough that that could come into play, but I could be wrong.
I could also see, I hate to interrupt you, Harry, but the Boston Celtics. The Boston Celtics really do need a point guard. It's no shade towards Marcus Smart, but when you think of a point guard, you need somebody quick, athletic, can make that decision, great on defense. Love Malcolm Brogdon. When he was with the Bucks, Rookie of the Year, second round pick, 42, but that is not a starting point guard. That is somebody you bring off the bench. So if I'm the Celtics too, I'll trade you Derek White. I'll give you Grant Williams. I'll give you Peyton Pritchard. I'll even give you Justin Jackson or Luke Cornett for picks. Imagine this: point guard, you got De'Aaron Fox; shooting guard, Jaylen Brown; small forward, Jason Tatum. You have Al Horford at the 4, Robert Williams at the 5.
Title.
That scares me. I'm a Bucks fan, but I am terrified of that team if I got to go up against them postseason time. We'll take them to 7, but we'll beat them though.
I would love to see it, but I think that'll be an extra slap in the face of the Sixers because remember in the 2017 draft, the Sixers had the 3rd pick, Celtics picked first. They swapped picks so that the Sixers could take Markelle Fultz. The Celtics ended up with Tatum, who's been arguably the best player in the draft. Imagine if they get De'Aaron Fox, who the 76ers also passed on, who's objectively better than the point guard that they ended up taking, Markelle Fultz, who's not even on the team anymore. It would be an extra
Speaking
layer.
of that, just imagine what could have been Ben Simmons, Joel Embiid, Jason Tatum. That would have
been incredible.
That would have been a dynasty.
Absolutely.
But we should move on, though, to our next discussion, though.
Yes, we absolutely should. Griffin basketball had gotten underway the past couple weeks. The men were at the Hilliard men's basketball tip-off at Looney Arena on the campus of Missouri Western State University. I alluded to it earlier. Kenan was at this game on Friday, 81-76 win over Minnesota Crookston. We were both here last night against Northern State, a very good team that took Northwest Missouri to overtime back in the 2021 NCAA regional that Missouri Western was in, ultimately losing. But Northern State took that win 68-57, only 4 points off the bench for the Griffins in that one. Kenan, how'd you like what you saw this weekend?
Well, first off, I got to go to that Crookston game. Up 15, 6 minutes left, and we absolutely blow it. Almost lose on a floater. That is completely unacceptable. Will Martin said it was on him. Gotta love how he takes blame as a coach. First game, Julius Dixon absolutely lit it up at his official Griffin debut with 17 points, 9 rebounds, 2 assists, and 2 steals. But the story of the day was Zion Swader, 22 points, 6 for 7 from the field, 6 for 6 in the first half, 5 for 5 for 3. Set a career high in points and tied his 3-point made from last year. Last year, he only made 5. First game of the year, already tied it. What I am worried about is the defense. I know it's still early in the season, but you got to get it down because if you don't get that defense down, then it will cause you trouble, and that is exactly what happened against Northern State. First half, Missouri Western ran Northern State off the 3-point line. They were shooting horribly. I think it was 21, 22%.
They didn't really shoot well all game.
But it was that second half. Sam Maston went off. He had 24 points, 5 assists, I think either 4 or 5 rebounds. There was another guy as well. I think it was Josh Dilling and Augustin Reed. We couldn't run them off the 3-point line. And like you said, Harry, only 4 points off the bench. But another thing,
all coming from Reese Glover too.
But I want to talk about the 17 turnovers. You're not going to win with 17 turnovers. You're not going to win with your bench only putting up 4 points. Reese Glover, yeah, he had 4 points off the bench, but he had open looks. He had wide open threes. Couldn't knock it down. I mean, Ethan Kilgore, 0 for 2. JC didn't shoot the ball at all, which surprised me.
I thought he looked good. Otherwise,
he looked great off ball. Like Will said, he does a lot of things that didn't pop up in the stat sheet, but he did them well. But if I'm JC, I'm 7 foot. I'm like, give me the ball, drop step, because their center was 6'8". JC's 7.
JC's going to have the height advantage all year. He's listed as 7
Tate
foot. I don't think
Fields-
he's an actual 7-footer, but
Yep.
still.
Tate Fields, 19 points, 8 rebounds. He did his thing. Julius Dixon, tough game, but he'll learn from that. Will Eames, 13 points, 3 for 6 from 3. Will's never been a good shooter, but if he can work around that 50% line, 30, 40, 50%, Griffins have something for the future. It's all about just putting the pieces together. I like what I saw. The defense has got to get better. Oklahoma Baptist is up next. We faced them last year. We are 1-0 against them all time. But if I'm Will Martin, I gotta hammer the defense. I gotta hammer the basics, taking care of the ball too. Get out in transition because this team can run.
Yeah, absolutely. They got some really good young pieces. Zion Switter and Tay Fields, like you mentioned, are both sophomores. I'm super excited for the future of them. I think Tay in particular looked fantastic last year. He and Zion are already off to great starts. And I think there's still a lot to determine this year. Like we said, we still got a couple weeks until conference play starts. I think the starting lineup could look different come this conference opener against Missouri Southern. On Saturday, Martin rolled out Julius Dixon, Zion Swader, Tay Fields, Will Eames, and Alex John as your starting 5. I think your first 4 are pretty set. I like Julius, Tay, Zion, and Eames. I think that 5th one could be interchangeable depending on matchups. When Justin Bubak and Jerron Thames, I almost said Jason Tatum. When Bubak and Thames get healthy, I think both of them could fluctuate in occasionally. Reese Glover, if you're looking to play 5 out, if Reese gets going, because we know he's such a streaky 3-point shooter, but when he's on, I think he could be the best shooter in the MIAA.
Oh, 100%.
JC Anthony as well for size advantage. He can also stretch the floor out a little bit. He can pull up, shoot a little bit when Alex John can. Alex is just such a freak athlete down low that it's hard not to give him the minutes just because he's so physical and strong down there. But I think there's a little bit. I think there's a little bit of maneuverability that
I
Will
would
Martin
want to
has.
see. I'm sorry for interrupting you, Harry, but I want to see. I feel like this lineup that I'm about to mention can be the most success for him. Tay Fields, Zion, Julius, Will, and Jerron. I feel like with Jerron, he's super athletic. Not the greatest shooter, but just the way he easily maneuvers around the basket. It's so silky smooth. It's like I'm watching Tony Parker play. And he's athletic. He can bang on anybody. He has zero fear. I remember last year, he almost caught 2-3 bodies in a single game. He had the gym going crazy. Will Eames and Jerron Thames, absolutely. You have Will, who's skillful, that beautiful turnaround, fadeaway, nice little passes, and then you have Jerron, who, if you're standing under the rim, get out the train tracks.
But, he's so good at finishing down low. He can move the ball. He can kind of pass like a point guard, and he can also drive to the rim and finish any which way he wants. I remember Sundance Wicks praising the heck out of him my freshman year when Sundance was still around. We also got to give some love to the women's basketball team.
100%.
They were in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. Thank you for the Courtyard Sioux Falls Tip-Off Classic this week, and already they've set 2 near records. Last Sunday against Lubbock Christian at Municipal Auditorium in KC, Connie Clark 34 points, 7th most in Griffin history in a 101-96 win. And then Saturday against Augustana, they lost 86-77, but Brianna Budges thought that looked fun, dropped 33 of her own. So this team has some absolute scores, and we've come to expect that from those two in particular. They both averaged double figures a year ago when the team went all the way to the Elite Eight. They are as good, if not better, than ever to start up the year. And, it's kind of interesting playing these teams because we don't really know how they compare to MIAA teams so far. We know Fort Hays is going to be very good. We know Missouri Southern should be very good. That's one of our first conference matchups of the year, December 3rd. But, man, I am very, very excited to see how this women's basketball team looks this year.
Like you said, Harry, Brianna Budgets, Connie Clark, Camille Evans. That's coming into the season. I sang their praises. I'm like, this is a good big 3. Those 3 at the wings, and 4 games in, you already have 2 30-point scores. And then like Johnny Gonzalez off the bench, every shot she shoots is a 3 basically. She has unlimited range. She has the green light. You got to talk about Jordan Cunningham. You got to talk about Mary Foltz, who had a really good game as well, even though it didn't pop up. Like she's a skillful player. You have key players such as Abby Ball off the bench, Cameron Freemeyer, Trinity Knapp, Alyssa Bonnell as well. this team can go deep. I do see them winning another MIAA conference, and I see them making it back to Alabama. I really do.
I don't see a reason why they can't go on another deep run. I think we should move on
Yep.
now. MLB free agency officially opened up on Thursday. Teams can officially start signing players, and we're all getting antsy because our teams haven't done anything yet, except for the Mets who signed Edwin Diaz, pretty much. So I listed 5 players here. I think we can kind of go around and kind of talk about where a fit is and where we see them ending up, starting with Trey Turner, who has been with the Dodgers the last couple of years, was traded from the Nationals along with Max Scherzer in 2021. Tommy, do we think he stays?
I think there's an obvious move here, right? You got to join your old teammate on the Phillies.
You think he's going
I
to
think
the
he goes
Phillies?
to the Phillies.
You know, I think the Phillies are a play at shortstop, but I think Trey Turner is so freaking good, man. As much as I would kill to have him on the Cardinals, and Greg Amsinger, he said he's going to be a Cardinal. He predicted Albert's 700th home run. Man, I don't see a way that the Dodgers can get rid of him. I think they can absolutely unload the wallets and pay Turner whatever the heck he wants to keep him around. Canal, where do you see Trey Turner going?
I gotta go with Thomas. Philadelphia has been the number 1 landing spot for Trey. I can see him in the red and white.
I do think the Phillies land a shortstop this offseason. We're not going to talk about all the big ones today, but there's Turner, there's Dansby Swanson, Xander Bogaerts, and Carlos Correa are all free agents this year. I think they're going to be big in shortstop. The Cardinals need a shortstop. I think the Mariners are going to be big into a shortstop, but I think Trey Turner remains a Dodger, and I think he makes over $300 million. I'm thinking 10-year, $300 million.
Let's say Trey Turner goes to the Phillies. I mean, Correa, Dodgers.
You don't think there's some bad blood there because he was on the Astros team with the sign stealing scandal? You think? I don't know. I'm not 100% sure that's water under the bridge. Because I think if it was, I think Correa might have stayed in Houston. To be quite honest with you. But moving on now to the best pitcher of the last 5 years when healthy, Jacob deGrom. He is a free agent. I think for deGrom it comes down to 2 teams. I think he either remains a Met, which I know the Mets want to keep him for sure, even though he is 35 years old, which is hard to believe he's got such a late start. I think it's between either the Mets and the Texas Rangers because they've shown that they want to spend the money. They signed Corey Seager and Marcus Semien last year. They've been in the market for just about every big name pitcher. They've been in the market for Clayton Kershaw as well. I think he's from Texas. So what do we think? I hate to be boring, but I think he's also staying a Met. What do you think?
I think that's probably the highest possibility. But, I mean, the Rangers have reached out to him already. I could see that being a landing spot. Just to, mix things up here. I'd like to see him in a Texas Rangers uniform.
I would like to see that. I think, Houston's going to cakewalk to the division crown every year for the next 5 years unless these teams start doing something. I wouldn't be surprised to see the Rangers offer him near $45 million a year. To be quite honest with you, Kenan.
Hard to say, Jake. I don't know. I want to see him in Houston as well, but I think he's going to stay in New York. They got unfinished business there after last year's epic collapse. I have him staying in a Met.
Interesting though. You said he stays in New York. Is there a shot that he becomes a Yankee? Does he put on pinstripes? You don't think so?
I don't think so.
No.
Well, the Yankees first have to figure out what the hell they're going to do to Aaron Judge.
We'll get to that in a second. I think I don't see it happening. I think it'd be funny as hell if it did happen, but I don't see a reason. I don't see a logical reason for that to happen. But the man of the hour, like Kenan just said, Aaron, All Rise, Judge. He's staying in New York, right?
Yeah, soon to be billionaire.
100%. They're going to throw every paycheck, every penny in the city of New York that they're going to have to take out loans for the next 20 years. But Aaron Judge is the guy in pinch.
I'm pretty sure they actually just signed on a new bill at midterms so that they can take more taxes from.
I mean, hey, for Judge, give him the earth if you want it.
Honestly, what do we think that contract's going to be? We got to remember he's around 30.
He is 30 years old. They're turning 31 in April. 8 years.
We talked about this last week.
There was a prediction last week.
I think it was around 8 years, $40 million a year, 320 overall.
Could be 350 even. If you want.
Over 8 years though, man.
I don't know. Judge, I feel like Judge is going to ask for that. He deserves that. The thing is, will the Yankees pay that?
Yeah, I think they give him
because if they don't, we already know what's going to happen. San Francisco is going to come calling, and then
I
Judge,
think San Francisco is interesting.
and then Judge is going to be like Barry Bonds, knocking the ball out the park without PEDs. Though.
Can you imagine him with Coors Field in his division?
Oh my!
Can you imagine what he would do?
70.
That's 600-foot home run.
They would start building houses just around that area to try to get souvenirs. Next up, I think he's one of the more interesting ones because I feel like he's flying a little bit under the radar. World Series winner from 2021. Where's Dansby Swanson going? He's been a Brave his whole career since getting traded from Arizona before his big league debut. Where do you guys see Dansby going? I'll start. Dansby is who I have the Phillies getting. I think he switches divisions. I think they're going to open the vault for him, immediately make a division rival worse. And man, you see what that team did. Dansby's already got a little bit of a pedigree. Being the shortstop on a World Series champion is going to give you a ton of clout. I think he even fielded the final out when they beat Houston. But I think you put Dansby Swanson in that offense with Rhys Hoskins, Kyle Schwarber, Bryce Harper, Nick Castellanos.
Yeah,
that's salivating right there.
I could see that.
And I think it's more of a financial. I think it's more financially reasonable than the Phillies. I know the Phillies. I've heard ties to Xander Bogaerts because he's got the relationship with Dave Dombrowski of the Red Sox, formerly of the Red Sox. But I think Dansby Swanson would look really good hanging out with the Philly fanatic.
I also think he'd look good in the Cardinals uniform.
I think all these guys would look good in a Cardinals uniform, Tommy. But I already wrote that I have Bogaerts going to the Cardinals, so I got to stick to that.
Okay. Swanson possibly to the Cubs as well.
I think the Cubs could be big players. They need just about everything.
I was gonna say I could see Dansby in that blue.
I could see him being a very hateable player.
Flying the double, he would be hated, man. I like Dansby a lot, but man, he's that kind of guy where you love him if he's on your team, but if he's on a rival, you absolutely despise him.
Got that bear on his
head. And his agents have been in touch with the Chicago Cubs. It has been confirmed, but also I can see him re-signing with Atlanta. There's mutual beneficial there, mutual connections.
Oh, I agree.
I can see
the Braves' World Series window is the Braves' World Series window is still absolutely wide open, even though they lost in the DS. Austin Riley's still fantastic. Ronald Acuna's fantastic. They got a really good staff there. They have 2 Rookie of the Year candidates. Max Fried is going to finish second in the Cy Young. But
if I see him find that W, I'm going to be really upset.
I'm going to be a little bit salty.
I can see that happen.
Especially if the Cardinals strike out in a shortstop for a second year in a row. Because, I wanted Trevor Story last year. Last but not least, quite possibly the last contract he's ever going to sign. Soon to be 3-time AL Cy Young winner, Justin Verlander. Justin Verlander's had an interesting career. I remember talking a few years ago, arguing whether or not he was going to be a Hall of Famer, and now he's 40 years old. In the last 4 years, he's had a Tommy John surgery, and now has won 2 Cy Youngs. Maybe his second best season aside from his 2012 MVP season at age 40 coming off a Tommy John surgery. Where do we have Justin Verlander signing?
Houston.
You think he goes back to Houston?
So. I think he's happy there. I think he's satisfied after that World Series win. He's 40 years old. He's probably got a nice house. He's all settled in with Kate Upton, all cozy.
The interesting thing though is that if he was like a legacy guy, I could see it. But he got traded a couple years ago. He's only been in Houston for about 5 years. He got traded in 2017 for that World Series run. 2 years, $60 million, 2 pitchers near their swan song. Justin Verlander is going to be a St. Louis Cardinal. I think. Give me Justin Verlander. If we don't get Carlos Rodon, we need a top-of-the-line ace. We can worry about fixing the rotation a couple years from now. Justin Verlander is going to be your top-of-the-line guy for at least another year if he wants it to. I don't care if it makes sense or not. I know you don't like it. Very optimistic. Justin Verlander, I want you in St. Louis badly. Behind Trey Turner, Justin Verlander might be the free agent I want the most. Can you imagine having... Who was the last pitcher we had as good as Justin Verlander?
So if somebody offered you Justin Verlander or Trey Turner, you're still taking Trey Turner?
Oh, I'm still taking Trey Turner. That's 10 years and maybe the best shortstop in the game. He can do it all. He's gonna be your leadoff hitter for the next 6 years. And he can steal 50 bases if we gave him the green light.
I mean that infield.
That infield, man. If you put Paul Goldschmidt, Tommy Edman, Trey Turner and Nolan Arenado in your infield with Justin Verlander pitching. Man, Dylan Carlson could sit crisscross applesauce playing rock, paper, scissors with a little girl in the center field bleachers, and he wouldn't miss a fly ball. He wouldn't miss a ball.
Let's throw in
Nothing's
Contreras
getting past
behind the
that.
plate.
Sure, why not throw in Contreras behind the plate?
That's our dream roster.
You can start. You can clone Kenan twice and put him in left, right, and center field, and you're winning a World Series.
I actually have him leaving Houston to the team that he beat to get to the World Series, the New York Yankees.
Ooh,
Look,
man, I would be so mad.
The Yankees want a win. They haven't won anything since 2009. This is a city that wants a championship, that demands a championship. Anything less is a failure.
They're going on 13 years now without a ring.
13 years. Justin Verlander and Garrett Cole on top of the Yankees rotation would not only, one, energize the fan base, but two, that would provide pitching nightmares for months, for as long as Justin Verlander wants to be a Yankee.
And he'd be reunited with Garrett Cole as well.
But financially, exactly that too. But financially, we got to talk about the money as well. This could be a difficult part for New York with all the other contracts in the book. We talked about Judge, but if the Yankees they've displayed a willingness to pay their players, despite anything that happens to them in the past, if he comes to New York, then the Yankees would arguably have one of the top 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 rotations in the league with Cole, Verlander, and Nestor Cortez.
That's top one, in my opinion.
Top one?
I think so.
And you're not only getting a man who's still can provide, you're stealing him off your AL rival, the team that sent you home packing in, was it 4, 5?
Swept them. Clean sweep.
Swept them. Got to do it.
I think another team that could be interesting is Toronto. I think I could see them getting a veteran guy, a leader with a pedigree that's been there, done that, to kind of help right the ship, because the Jays need to take a step. I thought they would be a little bit better than they were this year, but I think a guy like Verlander is going to make anybody better. I think he's going to get a Scherzer type contract wherever he goes, but I want him wearing the birds on the bat so badly. It's not even funny.
Plot twist: he signs with Detroit again.
Yeah, right. Moving on now, real quick. Blues finally ended their 8-game winning streak and have now won 2 in a row. And I got to credit Craig Berube and Doug Armstrong for not panicking. They made a couple roster decisions, like Jake Neighbors got sent down. We called a couple guys up, switched the lines up just about every single day, but nothing major was done. No players were traded. Berube's still here, most importantly, because I don't think Berube's the problem one bit. And now we got to see what happens. We just beat the best team in the NHL last night, clean, the Vegas Golden Knights. They had 22 shots in the third period. Didn't matter. We got the win. Forget that 8-game losing streak. Time to build. You got a long way to go. But the season is not even 20% done. There is still a long way to go for this team. And as down as I was on them, 5 days ago, I got some faith again. I really think all you need is a couple big moments like that. A big win against a really good team at their home barn in Vegas. And who knows what they can do. Hockey's all about momentum, and the Blues finally have it. So keep it going. I'm still not quite thrilled with you guys, but we can work on it. NFL quick recap. This episode is going really long. It's 43 minutes in. Holy crap. We had the game of the year today. Bills versus Vikings, and I really think that's all we need to talk about, because from the sounds of it, the Sunday Night Football game is not the most interesting. Chargers beating the Niners 16-10 just at the start of the second half. But man, can we talk a little bit more about this game? Also, Kenan, congrats. His Lions have won another game.
2 in a row against division opponents. We're going to the Super Bowl, baby.
Speaking of two teams that could honestly meet up in the Super Bowl, this game was 24-10 Bills at halftime, and the Vikings ended up winning 33-30. Allen fumbles the ball in the end zone with a minute left in regulation. Vikings take the lead. Then he marches down the field, kicks a last-second field goal to force overtime. Vikings march down the field. Dalvin Cook get a field goal. Bills are marching down the field. It was really back and forth. Allen throws a really bad pass into the end zone. A play before, Dawson Knox had the ball in his hands but got it swatted out at the very last second. Would have ended the game right then and there. Allen throws a horrific pass right at Patrick Peterson. Game's over. Vikings with the shocking win.
Second pick of the day for Peterson, by the way.
Yeah, and the Vikings are now 8-1. And everyone was worried about Allen's elbow because he had the UCL nerve issue. That was not an elbow issue. That was a bad read. There was a lot of zip on that ball. Just not a bad decision, or just not a good decision by Allen. And I tweeted this earlier. Buffalo is going to come to regret this game and next week, or the week before, when they're in the AFC Championship game in Arrowhead as opposed to at Buffalo, because that is going to hurt them a lot. They had home field advantage before these last 2 weeks, and now Kansas City's won 2 in a row. The Bills have lost 2 in a row. I still think that's an AFC Championship game unless someone stops them. Home field advantage is going to play a big factor in that one.
100%. Vikings had a great game. Kirk Cousins, 30 for 50, 357 yards, a touchdown, 2 picks. Dalvin Cook ran roughshod on the Bills. That overtime drive, he did anything he wanted to. 14 carries, 119 yards, 1 touchdown. But, Thomas, I'm going to let you take that. The man that you've been calling the best wide receiver in the NFL went off.
I mean, anyone who saw that one-handed
J-Jets.
grab,
That was absurd.
speechless.
I choked on my Baja Blast.
See, I saw everyone going crazy on Twitter, and I was like, okay, this can't be like you talk about a catch like that every single week. My God, it looked like he had Mrs. Incredible arms, just snatching that ball out while like jumping and falling at the same time. Just absurd what that guy can do.
Just the sequence of events that followed that made it even more impactful.
Are we gonna get an Eagles Vikings rematch in the NFC Championship?
Very much could.
We honestly could. But I mean, both of those teams look like the class of the NFC at this point.
Here's the thing, though, about the AFC. I don't appreciate you sleeping on the Dolphins. They have not lost with Tua at the helm.
What have they done in the playoffs, though? I think the playoffs are a different beast, and Allen had one of the best quarterback performances ever in the playoffs last year.
How do you stop the two-headed monster of Waddle and Hill? I mean, how do you do it? No one's been able to figure it out. Hill's on pace to break the all-time receiving record in the regular season. That's with a wide receiver 1 on his.
Yeah, they have 2 guys in the top 5. It's ridiculous.
I just want to say something.
Do you think? I think the Dolphins are a lock for the playoffs. Do you think that this level of production is going to be sustainable for the rest of the year?
I think
this is the first time we've seen it out of this team with Tua at the helm. They got a first-year head coach as well. Do you think that they're going to be able to sustain it the rest of the year?
The offensive production, I do. I am worried about their defense. They struggle. That could hurt them come playoff time, but I think that offense is good enough to keep up with anyone.
I don't disagree with you.
I just want to say something. I was just on Twitter checking the sports world. Joel Embiid had a career-high 59 points,
oh my God,
11 rebounds, 8 assists, 7 blocks, 19 for 28 from the field, 20 for 24 from the free throw line, too. And they beat the Jazz. I know we're talking about football, but
that's damn near quarter.
I got to give Joel his props. Second best center in the league.
That's absurd. No, Embiid when he's on can be the best player in the league. I can't stand watching him. I'll be honest. I feel like he flops and tries to bait a foul and everything like that. But the guy's good. He's grown on me a little bit. I couldn't stand him when he first came to the league.
Didn't mean to interrupt you guys.
I think a 59-point performance kind of.
No, that's a fair.
And looking at the NFC, we talked about the Eagles and Vikings are by far the class of the league. Guess who's, without looking, who do you think has the 3rd best record in the NFC? Kenan.
No idea.
Tommy, did you look or do you?
No, Seahawks.
The Seahawks are the 3rd seed at 6-4, but at 7-2, the 3rd best team in the NFC is the New York Giants.
Oh,
it's basically
I forgot about them.
It's basically a 2-man show right now. The Eagles and Vikings are doing what other teams just simply can't right now. All credit in the world to Geno Smith. I've never liked the Seahawks. If they can continue this thing and knock one of them off in the NFC divisional, more power to them. The Bucs look like garbage, but have won 2 in a row, so you know that Brady is going to will his way to a Super Bowl again. But hoping it doesn't.
NFC East has been competitive as
good.
well. I know Cowboys are 6-3. They just lost to Green Bay today. But Eagles 8-0, Giants 7-2, Cowboys 6-3. Anything could still happen.
Who would have had the NFC East being the 2nd best division in football this year? The AFC East with Miami, Jets, Bills, all in the playoffs. Patriots are the first team out right now. After that, basically the same thing with the NFC East. The Commanders right now are the first team out of the playoffs, and with the Niners losing, they could be in a presumptive playoff spot after Week 10.
Ravens on a 3-game win streak too. Got to watch out for them.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, this has been going on for a very long time. We're already 50 minutes in. Haven't gotten to the main segments. It's time for Harry versus all. Kenan has his card ready. We weren't feeling very good about it early on. Thomas, are you okay?
Yeah, I'm just bleeding.
Okay, Tommy's bleeding a little bit, but he's gonna have to dry up because it's his turn to answer the questions. Kenan is gonna read it after I walk out of the room. You can take a second to keep it good.
Do you need
I
me
would like to
grab
note that I do believe that Kenan somehow managed to cut the inside of my ear, and I am.
It was UFC 282.
I am
All three
bleeding.
of your hosts at Unsportsmanlike Content got into a fight.
All right, Kenan.
Call me Alex Pereira now. All right. Are you great, brother?
I'm good.
All right. In 1992, what typically childhood illness caused Ozzie Smith to miss 2 weeks of action?
Childhood illness.
Childhood illness.
I only know of a few childhood illnesses, so I'm just gonna go with chickenpox.
All right. Question number 2. In 1989, what Cardinals outfielder led the team with 117 RBIs one season after being acquired in a trade from the Dodgers?
Cardinals outfielder 1989. Ooh. You know, I should know this, but I don't.
Got to throw something out
So
there.
I want to go with Jack Clark. Was he even an outfielder?
We'll see. In 1999 to 2000, what goaltender set the Blues team record for most wins in a season with 42?
Yeah, I don't know hockey like that.
Oof. This might come back to bite you. We know Harry's a whiz at hockey.
Yeah, he's for sure getting this. I'm just gonna take my L. Just taking the L on that.
Not gonna say nothing.
I don't have a name.
What 2016 Cy Young winner landed with the Indians as part of the 2010 three-way deal that brought Jake Westbrook to the Cardinals and sent Ryan Ludwig to the Padres? 2016 Cy Young winner.
For the Indians?
Landed him with the Indians, yes.
Landed him with the Indians.
Yep.
Oh, God.
I can tell you what former team he played for if you want.
Yeah, that would be nice.
All right.
When he won the Cy Young, what team was it?
No, he won the Cy Young with the Indians.
Oh.
Hold on 1 second, sorry. He was with the Padres. Nothing. Okay,
Carlos Santana.
all right, ladies and gentlemen, that has been Tommy's answers. Tommy is going to go get Harry right now. Harry's standing outside. And we'll see if Harry can come back and beat Tommy. I don't know if he got many right. I don't know if he got many wrong. It'll all be revealed at the end of the segment. And Harry is back in the room. He looks confident. He's looking ready to defend his title. I think it's been 3 straight weeks of Harry winning. We'll see if he can make it 4.
Tommy, how you feeling?
Less than confident.
Okay, he told me I've got this, so that usually
You could.
that usually conflicts with what we actually end up having happen. So
All right,
let's do
Harry,
it.
you ready?
Yes, sir.
In 1992, what typically childhood illness caused Ozzie Smith to miss 2 weeks of action? Typical childhood illness.
Trying to think of what would be considered a childhood illness. For some reason, the first thing that's coming to mind is chickenpox. Could also go the Sam Darnold route and say mononucleosis, but I doubt it's that. I mean, can't think of anything else. Like the flu's not a childhood illness per se. I'm gonna go chickenpox. Card's off to a great start.
In 1989, what Cardinals outfielder led the team with 117 RBIs 1 season after being acquired in a trade from the Dodgers?
So this isn't Jack Clark. He was also a first baseman. Wasn't Vince Coleman because he wasn't on the Dodgers. Ron Gant, I don't think was there yet. Willie McGee had been there for a while. Only name I can think of from this era that could have been picked up around this time. I don't think it's right, but I'm gonna go with Ray Lankford.
In 1999 to 2000, what goaltender set the Blues team records for most wins in a season with 42?
90, 2000. I think he finished second in the Vezina this year. I believe it was Mr. Roman Turek. And then he gave up a goal from center ice in the playoffs in Game 7, cost us the series against the Sharks, and people say he was never the same after that, but I digress.
What 2016 Cy Young winner landed with the Indians as part of the 2010 three-way deal that brought Jake Westbrook to the Cardinals and sent Ryan Ludwig to the Padres?
You said 2016 Cy Young winner.
Yes, sir.
So that'd be either Rick Porcello or Max Scherzer. Max Scherzer never had any ties to the Indians, so I feel like it would have to be Rick Porcello.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, the boys have sent their answers. Can I get a drum roll for the winner? Drum roll for the winner. Ladies and gentlemen, with a score of 2-1, and still the champion of this game, Harry Loomis.
Can we go? Let's go through the answers while we're at it.
How did he get?
In 1992, Ozzie Smith, it was chickenpox. So both of you got that right. In 1989, what Cardinals outfielder led the team with 117 RBIs? It was Pedro Guerrero.
Pedro Guerrero. Okay.
1999 to 2000, Roman Turek.
Roman Turek. Yep.
Because of that. But you guys didn't get this one. Corey Kluber.
Let me see that card. That's not right.
That's what it said.
See, this is wrong. I'm telling you now, this is wrong. You can look it up. Corey Kluber was a Cy Young winner. He was a finalist in 16. He won it in 2014 and 2017. Look it up.
I would like to argue that this was not one of the best cards.
I don't want to.
This actually wasn't a bad card, selfishly.
Harry is right. He won in 2014 and 2017.
See, this is why I messed up and said that this card wasn't worth that this game wasn't worth every cent. Because now that we got a factual error, now I'm wondering the integrity of the game.
That's
personally.
For Harry for us to pick that card, and for Harry to know.
Well, it was me that picked that card.
So I don't blame Kenan at all. Kenan's you do not shoot the messenger in this scenario. We give Kenan the benefit of the doubt. Which one did Thomas get right? Just because I'm curious.
He got chickenpox.
You did get chickenpox. Okay, that was the first one. I feel like that was the first one that came to mind.
What else is there? Like whooping cough?
Right.
That I've been dealing with for the last 22 years.
So what was your guess for the Cy Young winner?
I said Carlos Santana.
Carlos Santana. Okay. Thank you, Kenan. Good job.
Thank you.
And we are going to move on. It took us a while to get here. Usually this is around this time, 58 minutes in, we would be finishing this segment, but we've had a pretty loaded show. We've got a lot going on today. So we're just starting the segment. It's draft time. Today's draft this was a pretty interesting one. There's a couple different ways you can go about it, but the subject is the most historic and kind of monumental sports championships. So this can be a really big storyline. This can be a historic drought. This can be a historic run, a team of destiny, a really big, I think I already said story a couple times, but you kind of know when you see one. So you can kind of go a bunch of different ways with this. Kind of leaves a lot to the interpretation. So we try to use a draft format today. We didn't have any specific reason, so we just went to Siri. And what did Siri pick? Siri picked Kenan going first, Tommy going second, and me going third. 3 rounds as usual, snake draft, and the draft is officially open. Mr. Kenan, you are on the clock.
10.5 games back in September. Nobody had this team penciled in for a playoff, let alone a wild card, let alone a World Series. The 2011 St. Louis Cardinals, 11-11.
I did not expect that to be the first pick.
We swept Atlanta. We went on the road to Pittsburgh, got 2 out of 3 from them, and 3 out of 4 out of Philadelphia. That year, Philadelphia had 102 wins. We beat the Nets, and then we qualified for the NLDS. Game 1, 11-6 victory. Roy Halladay, rest in peace, struggled in the first, but after a 3-run home run from Lance Berkman,
I remember that
settled
home run
down.
like it was yesterday.
He retired 21 Cardinals hitters in a row. Game 2, came back. Game 3, series tied 1 game apiece. Got that win. Game 4, Phillies. Game 5, decides it was Chris Carpenter, Roy Halladay, 2 best friends. So the story's there. It's either I gotta beat my best friend to move on. Chris Carpenter threw an outstanding 3-hit shutout. Roy Halladay did okay, but the Cardinals won 1-0. Last out, Ryan Howard it was a ground out to Nick Punto at second base, and hey,
Tore his Achilles on that play.
Achilles.
That was
Howard tore his.
He was
That
never the same.
he was never the same. That was it right there. He took like one step and his Achilles.
That's when the Phillies curse began.
That was when it started. That was the last year they were really good. And I gotta say, I remember watching this game with my mom. That game is the best, most well pitched game I've ever seen. That game was so exciting. I remember Yadier Molina. I want to say he threw out Chase Utley stealing a base, and I remember like cutting to him and he's like yelling, getting all fired up and everything like that. Bottom of the 8th inning, ground ball up the middle, free agency or trade deadline acquisition. Rafael Furcal dives, snags it, spins around, fires an absolute strike to first base to get the out. I might have jumped around so hard to put holes in my wall at my old house because of how crazy this game was. But I remember that team like it was yesterday.
Moving on to the NLCS, defeated the Milwaukee Brewers. Always a great win to defeat your divisional rivals, and then that World Series against the Rangers. I was 11 years old. I remember staying up. Game 6, David Freese. We will see you tomorrow night. I lost it. I was screaming. I was hyped. I woke my parents up, but I didn't care.
I was there.
Oh well.
Okay,
I'm sorry.
we get it. We get it.
Sorry.
Tommy's cool.
Did you get the ball?
I get the ball. No,
I don't want to hear
it.
it.
I was in the nosebleeds behind the left field.
But what a series this was. And then that final out. What a team. What a ride. The St. Louis Cardinals are your 2011 World Series champions. I had shocks. To this day, I still come back. I watch that rally squirrel, everything. Albert, Yachty, Waino, Lance Berkman, David Freese. Shout out to him. What a team. What a ride. Give me St. Louis Cardinals with my first pick.
I like it. I got to say, I was at the parade that year.
I was too.
The one thing that will always stick with me, as soon as I went with my buddy, as soon as we pulled into his driveway, news came around that Tony La Russa had retired. That was a crazy timeline that day.
And then Albert left.
And then Albert left soon after.
Yep, bittersweet. Listen, Kenan, obviously I'm a sucker for the 2011 St. Louis Cardinals. But with this topic, we're talking about nationally. We're talking about what are people talking about across the world even. What is still relevant. People, let's be honest, people aren't really talking about the 2011 St. Louis Cardinals on a day-to-day basis.
In my opinion, that's the best win in the last 20 years.
You think so?
Hot take. I'm curious where Tommy's going with this.
I'm curious too. I think I know what
because if he's not picking it, I'm picking it.
I think I know what he's picking.
As much as it pains me to pick this one, it's obviously a deep hatred and rivalry in a St. Louisian's heart. The Cubs 2016 World Series championship
Fair enough.
Has to be one of the most relevant, impactful, historic wins in the past century.
Was that the pick you were going to go for?
If he didn't take it,
I mean that is a 108-year drought, and the way that series played out, that the Indians put on. I mean, they put out their best effort. That was
those 4 games were masterpiece. They went up 3-1, left no doubt who the best team was.
I mean, when you have a city, a team, a franchise waiting 108 years for a championship, I don't think it's hard to put anything above that in terms of impact.
Absolutely not. So I think that's what I thought was going to be the objective number one answer. My pick is also 2016 team. Team also came back from a 3-1 deficit. This city had a long deficit. Hadn't won a ring since I think 1962. But LeBron James, Kyrie Irving led the Cleveland Cavaliers to a 3-1 comeback over the greatest single-season regular season team ever in the Golden State Warriors to win the NBA championship. Golden State went up 3-1, dominating them. Wasn't even fun to watch. And then that game 6 is the best masterpiece of LeBron James' career. He had 41 points, something like 12 boards, 8 assists.
Points.
Yep. And swatted Steph Curry. Flawless on both ends of the court. Left no doubt who the best player in the world was at that moment in time. And then game 7 was phenomenal. Kyrie Irving with the iconic shot, leg flailing in the air over, I think it might have been Curry.
It was Curry.
Yeah, it was Curry. And then
Kevin
Love with the lockdown defense on Curry, forcing a shot. LeBron almost with the most iconic dunk in NBA history when he almost broke his wrist.
That wasn't even the best play LeBron did in that.
Oh, we didn't even talk about the chase down block. But, man, with 11 seconds left with the shot clock winding down, LeBron finishes that dunk, man. Can you imagine? What would have happened, the reaction out of everybody if he finishes that dunk? Give me the 2016 Cavs, and I forgot that I was going last. I'm back on the clock. And Kenan started out with St. Louis. I can bring St. Louis back around. I'm partial to this team. This team means a lot to me. You're also talking about a team with a historic streak of losing. This team had more playoff runs than the Cubs did, but couldn't get it done. They had a 25-year streak of making the playoffs in every year. Made the Final Four only twice, the conference finals. Could never get the job done. And the year before, they missed the playoffs in the last game of the season. Had high expectations. Made a big trade, signed a couple really good pieces in the offseason, but started out like crap. Got the coach fired. Brought in a new guy who hadn't had a lot of coaching success in his past. But, man, Craig Berube and Jordan Binnington led the St. Louis Blues to the Stanley Cup. And that for all intents and purposes, was a team of destiny. You can look at just about every single round, there's an iconic moment that you look back on and say, that was when you knew it was a team. First round against Winnipeg, play like crap through the first 2 periods. Start on the power play, Ryan O'Reilly, rebound, goal. Later on in the game, Oskar Sundqvist crashing into the net. Net gets dislodged, but not before Braden Shen can put it in. Tie game. And then 15 seconds left. Tyler Bozak just shovels a pass right to the crease, and Jaden Schwartz, who'd been awful, couldn't get a shot all game long, tips it in just about at his waist, puts it in. Blues win. Next game, hat trick, best game of the year, best period in the second period. I remember that like it was yesterday. I think it was 17-1. Maybe the best 20 minutes I've ever seen a St. Louis Blues team play. They win. Game 7 against Dallas. Ben Bishop standing on his head, 1-1 game. We got 53 shots. Can't get past him. And then Robert Thomas, the rookie, dangles, snipe. I thought he scored it. Hits the post behind Bishop. The local kid, Pat Maroon, tips it in. We're going to the conference finals. We're in game 3. A hand pass goal in overtime of game 3 for Erik Karlsson to score, who, by the way, best defenseman of the 2010s. He's having a renaissance this year. It's awesome to see. You got to watch some prime Karlsson. He was unbelievable. We come back 30 seconds into the next game. Huge hit, Ivan Barbashev. Then shovels a pass in towards the net, gets deflected, goes in. We win that game 2-1. And then the finals. Game 6 was Jordan Binnington's worst game of the playoffs. Game 7 was the best goaltending performance of the last 10 years at least. 30-something saves. The Blues had nothing. The shots were 8-1 in the first period. He stands on his freaking head, and then the Blues get 2 goals late in the third. Ice the game. Thought it was over. Wasn't quite over. The Bruins thrive off adrenaline. Binnington with a monster pad stop on Joachim Nordstrom. Then 2 minutes later, Tarasenko with the pass of his life to the center. Braden Shen snipes it. We end up winning the game 4-1. Give me the Blues, man.
I remember
my favorite team, my favorite year, my favorite moments in any sport ever. My first day with Ashley actually was the watch party to Game 7.
Was it at Busch Stadium?
We went to one at Enterprise Center.
Yep, I remember that because I was at Busch Stadium. I remember
in the pouring down rain.
I was standing right like down the first baseline too. It was Harry. That's a great pick.
Why, thank you, Tommy. You're on the clock.
All right, I'm going to take this back to baseball. We're going to talk about droughts again.
I already know who it is.
This one hurts maybe even worse than my first pick. You got to go 2004 Red Sox.
Yep.
Breaking the curse of the great Bambino. Coming back from 3-1, the Yanks.
That was 3-0.
Was it 3-0? It was 3-0, yeah. I mean, you add in all those factors. How can you not include the Boston Red Sox in this?
Tommy's crushing us right now. Those are like maybe the 2 most iconic.
I feel like those are
like the 2 most iconic curses and the most iconic break in them ever. Championships, for sure. Kenan, interesting to see where you go. You got a lot of work to do.
I do got a lot of work to do, but I do have something that can help my case. It's gonna be a little clip real quick. I just want us to remember where we were at this moment.
James catches, puts up the three. Won't go. Rebound pass. Back out to Allen. History toilet.
Can't wait to see how the copyright works when I upload this to YouTube.
Well, if the NBA sues me, then they can get my student loans. But I mean, this is arguably the second best finals ever, next to that 3-1. But this should have been a Spurs championship celebration. This should have been LeBron's second straight loss in the finals after originally joining the Heat, losing to the Dallas Mavericks. But all of a sudden, arguably the most important shot in NBA Finals history, that wide open Ray Allen bang.
I remember watching that one too.
Dude, let me tell you, I was refreshing Twitter every 30 seconds during that game.
I was watching the game live in my living room.
Everyone in my class, in my high school, late choke. LeBron's a choker. He's never gonna win another championship. I mean, when Ray Allen hit that shot, I was over the moon.
They steam handled.
I don't know why.
What's up now?
I was LeBron's biggest fan in that moment.
They steam handled Milwaukee. They killed Chicago in 5 games, and this Chicago team was really good too. And then Indiana,
underrated series.
Underrated too.
2013 though, that was the year D-Rose missed the whole year with a torn ACL.
Yup. It took him to 7 in Indiana, but then San Antonio, arguably the greatest team of ever, of the 2000s. I'm not gonna say ever. You had veteran presence: Tony Parker, Manu Ginobili, Tim Duncan, young talent Kawhi Leonard, Danny Green, Thiago Splitter too. But LeBron went crazy this series, and he got himself a championship. His first of 4, but give me that. Give me the rebound out to Allen, bang. That's the most memorable.
And then the Spurs came back with maybe the most underrated, dominant team ever the next year. Yep. Killed them in 5 to win it. Kenan, back-to-back, your last pick, you're on the clock.
I'm going with the beautiful game of football. Not American, European.
We always know that it's going to end up being soccer when he says it's a beautiful game.
Know. 2003, 2004, the Invincibles, Arsenal, the Gunners, 38 games played, 26 wins, 12 draws, 0 losses. Wow. The English Premier League, the highest level of competitive football in the world. 73 goals for, best offense in the Premier League, 26 goals against, best defense in the Premier League. They won the title by 11 points. They qualified for Champions League. Thierry Henry had an absolute insane year. 30 goals, 6 assists. My dad was watching it. He had a Henry jersey. There's probably a photo of me in it somewhere when they raised the cup. He's a big Arsenal fan. Robert Pires from France, 14 goals, 8 assists. He played great. Jens Lehmann from Germany, an absolute brick wall. When you think of just success, when you think of moments, this was Arsenal's first title in 20, 30 years, and they did it undefeated. They did it undefeated. That is something we never will see again.
No,
PSG can't do it. Real Madrid can't do it. Man City can't do it. But guess who's on top of the table 18 years later?
I'm going to go Arsenal.
Arsenal. My math is probably wrong there, but 20 years later, excuse me.
Close enough.
But give me Arsenal. Give me the Gunners 2003, 2004, the Invincibles. They're 12-1-1 right now, by the way. Should be 12-2-0.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great pick. I think you can make an argument that might fit better on a greatest single seasons list.
Yeah, I think you might have to double up when we do that. We're going to later.
Well,
Kenan's gonna type that in the potential. We have a list of the potential drafts we're gonna do later on. Kenan's gonna put that one in now. So to recap, Kenan has the 2011 Cardinals, the 2013 Heat, in the 03-04 Arsenal squad. Tommy is definitely winning this one so far.
100%.
Who is he gonna cap it off with? I have a guess, but I wanna see.
Zero chance.
I feel. Kenan, do you have a guess?
Some thoughts are brewing in the back of my brain. But
First one.
It is not a team.
It's a person. We could do people. I didn't know that.
Okay.
Sports.
Yeah, sports. My team was gonna be the 2001 Pats, but since it's a person, I'm gonna go Tiger Woods.
Conor McGregor.
See, Tiger Woods was on my list.
2016 double champ.
I was gonna say his 2019.
2016 double champ was a consideration. However, I would argue that on December 12th, 2015, UFC 194, Conor McGregor facing off against Jose Aldo, who had been one of the best fighters the sport had ever seen. He had an 18-fight win streak heading into this match. For the featherweight title, Conor McGregor walks in there with all the hype in the world behind him. He's the sport's hottest thing. First chance to win the title, knocks Aldo out in 13 seconds.
Unreal.
I remember watching this with my boys back home. We were at B-Dubs. Our food wasn't even there yet. And then I turn away for a quick second. I hear them going crazy. I missed the knockout.
I mean,
That's gonna be one of those
But
moments
that
where you're
was
like, you
hype.
kind of like just look back and you're like, this is gonna be big. Like
It-
this is something bigger than just a knockout, a championship
it
fight.
set the sport ablaze, and 7 years later, you can argue it's what fueled the rise of the UFC. I mean, Conor McGregor himself. If you look at his pay-per-view numbers, no one can compete.
Unreal. So I like where you're going with that because Kenan picked something kind of in his element with 0304 Arsenal. You picked a UFC fight. I'm gonna pick a NASCAR driver for my third pick. Let me tell you the story of Alan Kulwicki in 1992. So Alan was an incredibly talented driver who came from absolutely nothing in Wisconsin. Had to work and claw scratch for everything he did. He was an absolute perfectionist. There were famous people like Ray Abraham, who was Jeff Gordon's famous crew chief, who quit working for Alan Kulwicki because he was too rigorous and too much of a perfectionist and was always overlooking you. That's how serious and how educated he was with this stuff. But the man could drive. He bought his own team. He refused to drive for the best team in the sport at the time, Junior Johnson, because he had to do it his own way. He gets into 1991, has a good year, wins a couple races. No one's expecting him to win a championship. They're expecting the likes of Davey Allison and Bill Elliott. Bill Elliott, by the way, who just signed on with Junior Johnson's team, match made in heaven, most popular driver with the best team. So we get to the 1992 season, which might be the greatest season ever. It's fueled by great drivers being inconsistent as hell. Davey Allison won the Daytona 500, and Bill Elliott won the next 4 races. Get used to them. Bill Elliott won the next 4 races, but was inconsistent as heck for most of the year. Davey Allison had a myriad of injuries. He had a cracked rib, and then wrecked a couple weeks later, and that cracked rib punctured a lung. He had a violent flip at Pocono that bloodshot his eyes, shattered his forearm, and he raced through it. Didn't miss a race. Won a race right after puncturing his lung at Talladega. Not an easy track, by the way. And you get to Allen. He flies under the radar. He takes care of his stuff because he doesn't have a lot. He more or less takes advantage of other drivers' misfortune, like his 2 wins, but he's not by most means a championship threat. He has an issue, I think, at Dover, and he's about 200 points back with about 5 races to go. And Bill Elliott, who's leading the points, is falling apart. Like 4 finishes, sub 30. Junior Johnson's livid. He's on them, and Alan Kulwicki makes the biggest comeback ever to be within 30 points of new point leader Davey Allison coming into the last race. 6 drivers have a chance of the championship going into the last race mathematically. Kulwicki was 40 points back. Kulwicki was 30 points back. Elliott was 40. Davey Allison was leading. This is Richard Petty's last race and Jeff Gordon's first race. So a ton of storylines coming in. Davey Allison crashes because he's been struggling. He comes back to 5th, and he crashes after a guy spun out in front of him. So it's down to Elliott and Alan Kulwicki. And Kulwicki leads the most laps by 1 because Bill Elliott, his crew chief, made a mistake on the last pit stop because he thought Alan was staying out when it was a different driver. So he pitted him a lap too early, cost him a lap lead. If Elliott leads the most laps, he wins the championship. But if Kulwicki finishes second, Elliott wins now. They will tie with 180 points, and Allen will win the championship by 10. Tommy, what do you think happened? Elliott won the race, and Kulwicki finished second. Alan Kulwicki is your 1992 champion by 10 points over Bill Elliott. At the time, the closest finish ever. Everything that you wanted that race to be, it was. And it's a driver of destiny for more than one reason, because in March of 1993, Allen was killed in a plane crash. Never got the chance to replicate it. Never won again. Never really raced much again. It was about 6 weeks into the year, and just as quick as he became a champion, became a folk hero in NASCAR, he was taken away from us. The third place finisher, Davey Allison, was in a separate plane crash in July of that year. We lost him as well. So with that incredible, awe-inspiring championship fight, two of the top 3 finishers would pass away not even 9 months removed from the final race. But Alan Kulwicki is the biggest underdog in NASCAR history. So much of an underdog that they drove Ford Thunderbirds, and he had to deal with Ford that they scrubbed up the TH, and his car was famously titled the Underbird because of how big of an underdog he was. But Alan Kulwicki, look him up, man. He's one of my favorite drivers to learn information about because he is just absolutely fascinating, and there are very few drivers who epitomize what stock car racing is like Alan Kulwicki, man. He's as good as it gets.
I would love to go back and listen to the live call of that race.
It gives me goosebumps just how good of racing it was.
Very eerie that two of those top guys.
And how could you have ever predicted that? How could you have predicted that Jeff Gordon would become as incredible as he was? How could you predict that you lose 2 of the 3 championship contenders just like that? How would you expect that Bill Elliott was never that guy again? Those 4 drivers, Kulwicki won a championship. Elliott had already won a championship. The other 4, Davey Allison was gone the next year. Mark Martin finished second in the championship 5 times, never won it. Harry Gant never won a race again. Kyle Petty won his last race 3 years later and never did anything again. That was kind of like a flash in the pan thing. And even crazier, Dale Earnhardt. This is how weird this year was. Dale Earnhardt won the 2 championships before in 1990, 1991. Won the next 2 in 93, 94. This year, he was like 12th in points. Complete non-factor. This year was a total anomaly.
I really appreciate that deep dive because, you are a wealth of knowledge when it comes to NASCAR, and we are kind of an empty void. So
we fill each other's. We fill the voids. You got the UFC. Kenan's got the soccer. I got the racing. So we've been making it work. So pretty interesting draft. I'd say this is kind of the most diverse one we've had yet. The social media one was interesting. This one I think takes a cake. To recap, Kenan has the Cardinals of 2011, the Heat of 2013, and Arsenal of 03-04. Tommy, the 2016 Cubs, the 2004 Red Sox, and UFC 194, Conor McGregor's 13-second knockout in the championship fight. And I have the 2016 Cavaliers, the 2019 Blues, and Alan Kulwicki's 1992 Winston Cup Championship. Boys, good stuff today. We're going to make this wrap up pretty quick because we are at an hour, 22 minutes already.
One thing, very excited for. Football season, what is that? It's time for basketball. Kansas basketball off to a hot start. You're going to be hearing this name a lot. Grady Dick, former National Gatorade Player of the Year.
That story's cool.
He comes out, he scores 23 in his debut. Highly efficient from 3. He can knock down the mid-range. He can throw it down. Very excited for the season.
I got to go college basketball, too. I don't have a specific team in the race, but just the atmosphere. In my opinion, sometimes it even tops football. But I'm just excited to watch, like you said, Kansas. I'm excited to watch Duke, Carolina, Gonzaga, Kentucky, Baylor, Texas, Tennessee, Arkansas, Indiana, Oregon, Michigan, Illinois, Missouri. Like, give me more college basketball.
He tried to shoehorn Mizzou in there.
Kansas versus Duke, Tuesday.
Can't wait. What I'm excited for?
Beat-ups, question mark?
Maybe. What I'm excited for, Kenan doesn't care about it. World Cup is starting.
I said it last week. Like, I didn't want to sound like...
You said it in July.
We can't wait. Shout out to our local guys. We got Josh Sargent and Tim Ream representing St. Louis. Unfortunately, they're from St. Dominic, but we'll let bygones be bygones. They're going to be in Qatar playing for the U.S. at the World Cup. It's going to be awesome. And we're going to be cheering them on from the friendly confines of the United States. But, man, I absolutely cannot wait for that. So I think that's where we're going to call the show. It's been a loaded one. I think this has been one of our better ones. I think we've had a lot to talk about. We've done a pretty good job. So shout out to us for that. But we're not going to have a show for a couple weeks. We are going home next week for fall break. So I guess we'll have to meet up again sometime soon. The semester is almost winding down. So Tommy, good job. Kenan, good job as always. So from all of us here at Unsportsmanlike Content, my name's Harry Loomis. Thank you for watching. Good night. And John Mosaic, please sign Trey Turner. Thank you.